Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa. This is Budgeting Over 40. So, in this video, I am going to go in and close out my December week number 2 in my budget. So, if this is something that you would like to see, please stay tuned. So, thank you guys for coming back. Just going to go in quickly and go over my week number 2 spending. I'm going to show you guys my transaction log and I'm going to go in and close out the budget for that week. Um, if you are new, welcome. I would like for you guys to stick around and see how I climb out of a deep, dark hole of financial mess. I am working my way through it one day at a time. It is not pretty, but we got to do it. My family and I, we have to do it. So I want to leave a better legacy for my kids, so I'm working on it. So, okay, what we're looking at is my old budget setup, my old spreadsheet. And I did go in and I had make a new spreadsheet and revamped it a little bit. And this is something that I'm going to be using going forward for 2024. So I'm just testing it out right now to see how it fits. So far, it's doing well and I love it. I hope you guys take something away from this. So let's look at what it looks like now. So this is my new budget format. It has everything else. You have everything in there that is in the prior setup. And, nothing's changed. It's just the layout. And I can see everything on a grand scheme. I've also added a transaction log. So let's go through and go over that. Okay. So everything up here is from week number 1. If you haven't seen that video, I will link that in the cards. So let's go down. I actually have a line that separates week 1 from week 2. So starting week number 1 is starting on the 11th, I think. Let's take a look. Okay, week number 2 actually is from December 10th to the 16th. So let's go back down here and take a look. So I actually, as you can notice, I had a no spend on the 10th, which is awesome. But my first transaction was on the 11th for a half of my one main for $300. Second up was my Carly Karma Save, which is for my personal saving fund. That's for $5. On the 11th, again, I made an extra payment to one main for $5.10. I paid my Capital One number one card. I paid $185 to that card. Then I went to ShopRite, and over here in this little column A or this little section is the credit card. I'm documenting the credit cards that I'm using if I use a credit card. If there's nothing in that row, it's coming directly from my checking account. And before I go any further, you guys, I'll just mark where I'm at. If you see a check mark here that says that it has been paid, and once I check it, it will go green and it will strike it out. Okay? So automatically, if it's from my checking account, it's automatically a strikeout because that money is going to be gone, right? But if it's on my credit card, it's going to be something that I need to pay back. So until I've paid that amount back to my credit card, it's going to remain unchecked. Okay? So on credit card, Capital One number one card, I went to ShopRite for groceries for $283.64. And as you can see, that has not been paid back as yet. On the 11th, a third of my auto loan has gone out for $314. On the 11th, I went to the bagel shop and I spent $26, but technically I was reimbursed $25 of that. So we have a thing at work that if I fly, they buy, which is my coworkers. We do a pool, and we have one person run to the bagel shop and pick up the order, but most of the time the person who does the pickup gets sponsored or get their breakfast bought. Put it that way. I only have this $1 here because I ended up putting it on a credit card because I didn't have any cash on me. Um, so there was a fee for that. So I'm gonna be the one to stand the $1. On the 11th, I went to McDonald's, and these three next three transactions are on my Apple Card. So on the 11th, I went to McDonald's for another eating out for $8.67. Then I had to pay a copay to the hospital. So anytime I, go for my routine checkup, I do go to the doctors a lot. I have a copay of $25. But anytime I go to the doctor's office and I have a any kind of blood work that's done, there's an additional which the lab doesn't charge me. So then the hospital bills me. On the 13th for ECSI, I spent the $40 for my student loan. On the 13th, I paid Discover for $170. On the 13th, my Google Cloud storage came out on my Apple Card for $2.16. On the 14th, the bagel shop again from work, and this time I covered $6.40. On the 15th, another third of my auto loan came out for $3.14. I paid my Apple Card on the 15th three times, one for $100, one for $2.08, and one for $39.79. On the 15th, I paid my mattress firm for $67, and my babysitter was paid her regular $220. So now, also on the 15th, my son has gotten his braces, but I do have to pay for it because the insurance only covers so much. So I paid $164 on my Capital One number one card. I also went to the Gap and bought myself some clothes for $30.86. And then that same day, we went to Popeyes twice. On the same day, but there was two different transactions. One was for $31.14, and the other one was $7.59. Then I stopped at Shell, the Mart, and I spent $9.50 for some snacks. So before I proceed to the rest of the transactions for week two, I'm going to go back up and I'm going to show you guys. I did forget to enter one transaction, which was the child support money for my daughter for $263 on the 13th, and that went against my bank account. Okay, so let's move back down. So, okay, on the 15th again, I went to the Shell Mart and I stopped for some snacks for $9.50, and that was on my Capital One number one card. On the 15th, I went and got my nails, my pedicure done, and that was for $60, and that was a cash transaction, so that's automatically checked off. Or not automatically, but I've already checked that off. I did do my cash envelopes on the 15th. I sent $20 to my All the Things Kid funds, and I sent $25 to my emergency fund. And on the 15th, I made a payment to my Apple Card for $186.16, and that went against my checking account. And also, the last transaction was on the 15th. There was a raffle at work for Christmas. I put in $5 for a ticket. Hopefully, I win because I could use that money. And that is a cash transaction, so that is checked off already. So over here, as you can see, there is a couple things in the note section, and there are some numbers over here I'll explain. So total amount, I've made $328.03 in payment to my Apple Card. And this payment that was made is to cover the transactions that I have put on this card during this month, whether it's during week one or during week two. So what I did, I have gone ahead and like I've explained in column A over here is for me just to identify what card paid what transactions. So I'm going to go back up to the start of week one, and everything that's marked with the A, I went ahead and paid. So it's all checked off. So every transaction that was charged onto my Apple Card, I've already paid it back. Okay. So all those transactions total, I would say $328.03 because they're all covered. All right, so this $185 that I made to my Capital One number one card, I went ahead and I covered it, used that to cover some of the transactions that I charged to that card. Now, I won't be able to cover everything because that is the primary card that I'm using. So there's a lot of transactions that's left to cover. So as you can see, for the braces, that's not covered. For the gap, that's not covered. So there's a lot of things that I'm going to have to go in. Now, the money is there. The money is in my account. It's already, I will say, assigned, but because I have so many other bills that needs to be paid from my checking account, I'm kind of holding off to see if I can fully cover those with the cash that I have available, and whatever is less, I'm not whatever is left, I will put that on a credit card. So I'm still working on it. Payday is coming up, so when the check comes in, then I'll know what I can pay to the card and what I need to pay towards other bills. So, okay, what we're going to do now, we're going to go over to the budget and just see what we have spent in comparison to what we budgeted. So, okay, I am only showing you guys the budgeted sections for the month in the budget, and I'm going to go over what I budgeted in the week number two and what my actuals were. So, total that I roll over from week number one was $1,231.02. My SSI benefits came in for $1,300.10, and there was a total of $1,338.97 in miscellaneous income. That includes a check from my insurance for reimbursement for dental work. I got two checks from my insurance company for something else. I think this is from the medical section for $250.47 and for $4.57. Now, the reimbursement check from my dental insurance section was $638.93. So, if you've seen my YNAB video, I have gone into more details of how that played out. So, if you haven't seen that, take a look. I'll link that in the cards. So, the total inflow I'm working with for week number two is $3,870.09. In the savings and sinking fund section, I sent $25 over to my emergency fund, and all things kids got $20. Personal fund only got $5 for this week, and that's a total of $50. And they're all in red because most of these were budgeted in week one and they ended up coming out in week two. So that's how I'm documenting it. I haven't started with the given section yet, so let's just bypass that. In the monthly bills and expenses section, the only thing that went out was a $2.16 subscription for my Google Cloud, and that was all that was budgeted. In the variable spending, I spent a total of $283.64 in groceries. And one of my viewers have pointed out that they have noticed I have gone over budget so far for my groceries. It's week number two, and let me be honest, you guys, I have blown this $600 grocery budget out the water. I think as of right now, I'm close to maybe $1,000. So I have been trending down every month with my grocery budget. I was budgeting $1,200, and I'm gonna go into YNAB, which is the best place for me to show you guys what my grocery budget has been for months over month upon month upon month. So I used to budget $1,200. Some months I blew that out the water, and some months I came in close. But to be honest, I have been trending down. I think since the month of September, I've been trending down. But the month of November fooled me. I spent a total of I think maybe $512, $513, somewhere there. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this is great. I can only put my budget to $600 to be safe. Anyway, that was total nonsense. Because let me tell you, in November, I didn't have a stove. And I didn't have a stove for I think it was almost 2 weeks. But not only that, hubby was out of town, which I didn't mention during November. But hubby was out of town. So I was only worried about myself and the two kids. And we don't eat as much. So hubby came back into town and my grocery budget went crazy. But anyway, I didn't have a stove, and because of that, I spent less than $600. So I put it to $600 just to be safe, and that wasn't realistic. So grocery budget going forward, $600 is not going to work. To be honest, $150 a week for my family is not realistic at all. So that was a big um, I underestimated it, and that was a mistake on my part. So anyway, let's move on. I spent $50 in copays and meds, and I spent $64.30 in eating out. And I'm working hard on this eating out budget. I'm not doing so good, but I am trying. So total spent in my variable section is $397.94. And this is all over budget. Okay. Let's see if the red will work for this one okay, there we go. Since this is in a peachy color, I didn't know if the red would stand out. Okay, in the transportation section, $628 went out to my auto loan, and it's only because I made a payment in week one for $314, and it didn't come out until week two. So they both fell in the same week. It's not a big deal, the money was there. So $628 is the total for the transportation section because I held off on my insurance payment, my car insurance payment. In the kids section, I sent the 220 to my babysitter. Child support was budgeted to come out in week one. I didn't send it over until week two for 263. Braces is a new line item in my budget for 164. And that's a total of $647 that came out. In the personal section, I spent that $5 for the raffle, and I had budgeted 15, so that's not bad. I didn't budget anything for pedicures, but hubby paid for it for $60. I'm putting it over budget because I didn't budget for it. And in clothes and shoes, I spent $30.86 on myself. I'm going on vacation in about 10 days and I needed some clothes. Don't come for me. I need a vacation. Anyway, that's a total of $95.86, and that's over budget. Okay, the debt loan section, $40 to my student loan. They finally took their money. So I'm over budget in the week, but that was already money that was set aside for that. And then one main got $305.10, and it's the same thing, same story like the rest of the bills. They were budgeted in week one. The payments didn't come out and fall within the week, so we ended up on week two. So that's a total of $345 in the debt section. In the credit card debt section, I sent $170 over to Discover Card for the minimum payment, $67 for Mattress Firm for the minimum payment, $185 I sent over to my Capital One number one card, and that is less than the minimum payment due because I have already satisfied the minimum payment for the month. I sent $328.03 over to my Apple Card, and that was not budgeted, but that was for whatever expenses that was charged onto the card, as you have seen in my transaction log. So a total of $750.03 went over to the credit cards. So total income for the month was $3,870.09. I spent in expenses $2,916.09, and $954 is left to be rolled over into week number 3. So far, you guys, I am not doing terrible. There is monies. A lot of this money is monies to pay to my credit cards. So I'm also waiting for my rent to go out. I did drop the check off already. I'm waiting for them to deposit that. And payday is also coming up. So we're not doing too bad. December is not looking terrible. The only thing I do need to reel in my grocery budget and the eating out, something has got to change. So, you guys, I'm looking for January on to be much different. I'm just going to ride out the rest of December. And January in 2024 on a whole is going to be a whole different kettle of fish. So, listen, if you have lasted this long in the video, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you for hanging on. It's going to get better. It's going to get better because I'm going to do better. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to be a part of my budgeting family. I hope you guys are getting something useful out of this. And if it's even not useful, I'm hoping it's showing someone out there that even if you don't have it all together, you could still make it work and things will get better. So my name is Melissa, and thank you guys for watching. Bye, guys.